Got you, Snacks. Yeah. So I'm back on the couch for this one. Usual setup, laying down. But the cardio progression was definitely a little bit different than the lifting progression. Obviously, they're pretty drastically different things. I started running actually. I mean, I played sports, a lot of sports growing up. I did baseball, did wrestling, and wrestling is really where we started to do a ton of running. So before practice, I would often run a few different types of runs. Like it'd be stairs, it'd be laps around the track and down another street that we'd also often do. But that's where a lot of the running started. I'd also get shin splints and different other aches and pains just because we were doing so much running and then immediately wrestling after, and my body wasn't conditioned for it. I only started to really enjoy running maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I moved to Brooklyn. I started doing short runs about a mile at what I thought at the time was a quick pace. It's probably like a 9:45 pace. And I mean, I was absolutely burnt out at the end of those, so it was pretty brutal. But I started doing eventually longer runs where I'd run to Prospect Park, around the park, and back. And those were about 5 or so mile runs. And I typically do that still to this day. But oftentimes those runs were around a 10-minute mile or so. So 10 to 10:30 in the middle of summer. It was brutally hot. My heart rate, who knows what it was. It was probably like 180s, 190s, absolutely through the roof and not very good training. But it was nice to get out there and just to go run. And that's kind of where I started developing a love for the actual running aspect of it. So I think progression-wise, the runs, while distance didn't change much, I also do longer runs now just because I like to do the volume. But from a progression perspective, I'm usually doing 4, 5 to 8 mile runs, and those times have gradually decreased, which you'd expect. And also my heart rate has decreased relative to the amount of effort that I'm applying. So initially we could think about a 5 mile as a standard for me, and the 5 mile would be at a 10 to 10:30 pace. Hot or cold out, didn't really matter. The heart rate would be like 180 to 190s. And then after about a year or two, I was pretty consistent. I'm usually running 2 to 3 days a week now, and my heart rate has come down on those. Right, I mean, I'm trying to keep it in the 140 to 150 range now. And over the years, let's say about a year in, my times went from that 10-minute benchmark to around 9 to 9:30 benchmark. And we're keeping the heart rate in 140s to 150s at that point. And now currently, I can run like 5.5 mile, I think, all out through the park with hills, all things considered. The fastest I've done is around a 7:30. I mean, I'm spitting. It's absolutely terrible. It's not a good time, but consistently I'm able to do around an 8:30 per mile without too much strain, with the heart rate around 140, 150. So progression over the years, right? We're talking a 5 mile, about a 10-minute pace, about 3 or 4 years ago. Now with more consistent running over the years, it's slowly decreased around an 8:30 pace where I'm relatively comfortable, and I feel like I can hold that for longer and longer distances without much relative strain.